Hey, it's Celeste from Designs by Sis. Welcome back to my channel. I've kind of been MIA about talking about my sewing business and my love for sewing. I've been posting other videos about my ESL teaching and saving money, but I wanted to kind of pop on here real quickly because I've been kind of sprucing up my little sewing corner, as you can see right here, and purging some things that I really don't use, have never maybe intended to use, but I just love buying them. And one of that is pattern organization. Today we're going to talk about my two-part system of how I organize my sewing patterns. One is an actual physical container that I use, and then also another one is a free app that I can have on my phone at all times. And so when I walk into a sewing store, a fabric store, a specialty shop, or I'm at a quilt fest or sewing fest where they have all these patterns. I know exactly what I currently have, so that I'm not buying the same styles of clothing or of my bags or of other craft projects that I have. I can diversify those. Now, to get to this process, I've done a lot of purging. I had a plethora of patterns floating around. And I went through and just kind of took out the ones that I know that I'm not going to be making, maybe because I'm just no longer interested in that style. I've kind of changed kind of what I feel is comfortable in wearing. And so I have donated those to a local thrift shop. That thrift shop here in my area helps the homeless through the proceeds of that thrift shop. So they help with re-education, they help finding jobs, they help them with food and clothing and a safe place to stay as they're getting back on their feet. In addition to that, they provide gift cards for local churches, and the churches can give those gift cards to families that need to restart their lives, maybe because of a fire or a flood, or they've had to, a battered person has had to quickly escape an unsafe situation. That church can give them that gift card to get them started again as they are reestablishing their lives. And so I really like doing that. And I found that a lot of new sewers are going to thrift stores because it's a cheaper way to kind of see if you really like this hobby rather than spending a lot of money purchasing and investing equipment and materials. So that's why I've given my patterns and my fabric that I purged. I purged quite a bit of fabric to this local thrift store. So let's take a look at my organizational system. They need to restart their lives. So let's take a look about inside the box. Now this box is really old. My mother had these and she was tossing them, so I took a few of them to organize my patterns in them. So I'm not even sure if you can even purchase these anymore. If I do find them, again, I will link them in the description box below. So let's take a look at some of my patterns. So as you can see, I have purged quite a bit. And here are those sleeves that I was talking about. Now here is one that I've made before. As you can see, I can see the pattern there. And in the front sleeve, I put the envelope of that pattern so I can see. Now again, I'm going to show you just a few minutes about how I organize this on a free app so I know which patterns that I currently have. So I'm not duplicating, let me say that again, duplicating similar styles, links, etc. I like to have a diversified pattern collection that I'm actually going to make. But then I want to show you these. Now I went through my mother's stash, just a few of them, and I found some vintage ones. And I've kept a few. I think I'm going to use them to decorate with. And I wanted to show you some of this. Like this one here is of actual clothing that she made me when I was an infant. We struggled financially. My dad's job did not provide a lot of money. We didn't realize that we were poor, but and so she made all of our clothes. And so these are things that she made for me when I was an infant. And she paid 50 cents for this pattern. So I kept it because some of these I see in pictures that I've, of me when I was an infant, and just brings back some good memories. Just thinking about the love and the time that she took to make them, and they look so professional. She was a great seamstress. And then some of this, like this is from my grandmother's stash, my maternal grandmother. She was also a seamstress, And she was really an entrepreneur. Maybe that's where I get my entrepreneurial skills. But she made her clothes and her children's clothes. And so this is a dress that I see in pictures that she wore that she made. This McCall's pattern, she paid 50 cents. Now you can see that it's very old because it's really coming apart at the seams. But I thought this would be great because it's very to decorate with, because it reminds me of my grandmother and pictures that I saw when she was younger. Um, Here's a flashback, probably to the 60s. And I remember seeing pictures of my mother in this dress. She paid a total of 85 cents for this pattern. Wouldn't that be nice to pay that much for patterns and not have to wait for them to get on sale? Another vintage pattern. Here we have 65 cents for this pattern. My mother wore this dress, not the jumpsuit, in the 70s. You can see the hemlines are getting a little shorter and those socks. These are the doll patterns. My mother made clothes for all my dolls, and sometimes she would make matching clothes for me. This one was a whopping 45 cents. And I remember particularly this one with this scarf that I would put on my doll and had a matching one for myself. So I've kept this pattern. Again, I'm thinking about maybe framing them and putting them in my sewing nook, just as a reminder of how fashions have changed and also just some warm memories of things my mother made for me. This looks like, yes, a dress that she made for me, 35 cents. Um, wow, I wish patterns were that cheap again, but you have a matching doll and a matching dress. I think she made this yellow dress for me, view two of it. Again, Simplicity Children, just a wonderful reminder of things that she made. And then I've included other ones. I've included patterns for like quilts and bags that I am making. So I also have some what I call specialty patterns. You can't find them like in Joann's or in, big national box stores. These are mostly, I can't even talk this morning, mostly found in like quilt shops or specialty fabric shops. So I put them all in here. Now we're going to take a look at the free app that I take with me everywhere so that I can know exactly what I currently have in my stash so I'm not buying duplicate styles. So let's take a look at that.
So the free app that I am using is called Evernote. There are multiple versions of that you can pay to upload quite a bit in this, but I chose the free version. Again, I down size. That's the word I'm trying to use. Downsize my sewing patterns. And so I'm just trying to put in what I have. So as you can see, they let you take pictures. So I have organized here on the left-hand side them into manufacturers of the patterns. So I have a lot of specialty ones that I get from my local quilt shop or a local kind of sewing boutique where they have specialty fabrics, etc. And then as you can see, I also have patterns that I've purchased from places like Joann's. I have my Butterick. I have down here my McCall's. I have, we'll continue down here, Quick Sew, uh, more Butterick here. But you can organize them by categories, which I do on my phone. It lists them by the brand, the manufacturer, and then I have them individually here. So, one of the patterns that I use consistently is the pattern for my pillowcases that I make for my nephews and nieces. And invariably, I always forget how much to purchase for each one. So, it is a Valerie Wells pillowcase one here. It's just really on an index card. And so I've uploaded the picture here because you have right here, you have the body um, and you have the trim here. So I always forget how much. So you can take a picture, and when I go to my fabric store, because I'm creating new pillowcases for 2020, I know that I need 3/4 of a yard for the main fabric, a third of a yard for the edge fabric, and then an eighth of a yard for the accent band. I'm always forgetting, and there's so many different patterns out there for these pillowcases, but I like this particular one myself. So it's just a great way for me to have this with me at all times when I see fabric that I think will be great for this pillowcase. I also put some of my vintage patterns in here. These are patterns that I found from my mom's stash that are really depicting of the time when she was sewing quite a bit. I thought this kind of would be a fun retro apron to make one day. I haven't uploaded the back of it where it gives what kind of fabric and the yardage and etc., but I'm just uploading the fronts of them. Then I can see what I have because there's many different skirt patterns that you can find, and some, I just like certain kinds of flares on it, and that way I can avoid buying something that's really quite similar. Maybe there might be a few things that might be different, but really I have the basic pattern that I can kind of adapt to what I want. So this has been a great way for me to organize my patterns and know what I currently have, and as I purchase more patterns, and I can upload those as well to know what I have, what I need to purchase to add for a new wardrobe, etc. And I'm not overbuying. So hopefully this might be helpful to you as you are going through and reorganizing your patterns, maybe purging some of those as well as deciding which ones to keep. This is a great free app that you can put on your phone to take with you, and that way you'll know exactly what patterns you have and what you need to make that particular garment or craft that you're working on. A great place that I've been donating mine patterns that I'm no longer using is, like I said, my local thrift store. They sell items to help the homeless population within our city. They also give jobs to the homeless. And so I know that many beginner sewers, at least in my area, are starting with the thrift stores looking for fabric and looking for patterns because I don't want to make a big investment initially until they kind of see if they really like this. So you might think of donating some of your fabric that you're not going to use or patterns to maybe one of your local thrift store. So I hope that all of you are having a great time with sewing, and I'm going to be uploading. I'm working on a new project, and I'll upload that in my next video. Until next time, happy sewing.